Well, Sean, welcome back to another episode of Dads of Dagobah. Sean, the word of the week is litter.
Litter.
A word I had never heard used before, previous to last week, and this week I think they used it 4 times. But I want to hear you right off the bat. Give us a little soundbite. What do you think of the episode?
Week 2, Chapter 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, The Tribes of Tatooine, was a vast improvement
Oh,
from
yeah.
week 1. Such an improvement. Everything that I felt like was wrong with week 1, they fixed in week 2.
100%.
To the point where, and I've heard this opinion on the internet a lot over the last week and even today since the episode dropped. They should have done a release like you said last week where it was Wednesday and then Friday, or just last Wednesday, just dropped the first two. They just should have done the first 2 episodes. Because I refuse to take back our opinion from last week. Week one's episode was a bad episode.
Yeah.
That just wasn't a good first episode. And I saw people today on Twitter that were like, if you still don't like last week's episode, you don't understand. Like, so I'm like, no, last week was a terrible way to start the series, and this was a big improvement. Um, but they should have just they could have even cut some things from episode 1, probably cut some things from episode 2, and smushed them together, and it would have been a really good season premiere. Like
Yeah.
do an hour-long season premiere, like you said last week, like we did with season 2 of Mandalorian, a long season premiere, and it would have been awesome. But I enjoyed this week's episode much more than I enjoyed last week's episode.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Such a game changer. Such a course correction for the season. And yeah, people who were against the first episode were just getting attacked. And I'm like, it did not have any of the same feel of the first two season premieres of The Mandalorian. Like, you cannot say that that first episode of Book of Boba Fett was anywhere compared to. They're like, it's the first episode. I'm like, first episodes usually have a hook somewhere,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Anyway,
and I'm sure we'll get into a lot more details, but that's not to say that I didn't have some concerns with chapter 2. There were some things that I'm like, all right, but yes,
no,
I thought week 1 we got a mediocre episode, and week 2 we got a very good episode.
yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Totally agree. They brought last week they were walking the streets of Tatooine. This week the episode was brought in on a litter, everyone. It was just sagging in the middle. That was a big old episode, and I'm excited to talk about it. Well, Sean, let's start off. We get back to the streets of Tatooine. Well, actually, first we're in Jabba's palace again, and we've got the what the sun? No, the it was something very similar to Crimson Dawn. It was the wind. What do you remember the
Or
name of the
the night wind or something
night
like that.
wind? Yeah, who wouldn't talk, and I was getting so excited. I was so excited. I'm like, they're going to put him in the Rancor pit. Little Moochie is going to be down there, as we remember from Bad Batch. Like, they're setting it up perfectly for Moochie. They send him down there, open up the door. I'm like, and my little Grace, bless her heart, she's like, there's no Rancor, Daddy. Remember, Luke took care of it. I'm like, be quiet. There's going to be a Rancor. And there wasn't. But I thought that was just a great scene, and irregardless.
I thought that they would have a Rancor down there. Like, who's to say they can't get another Rancor? Come on.
Yeah, I was hoping the Rancor would escape and do a little Xbox. What was that game called? Star Wars Connect. Is that what it was?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
You have to play as a Rancor. Anyway,
Well, I don't know. How do you feel like the I feel like they are trying to get Fennec, Ming-Na Wen's character, to like be a little bit of comedic relief or something, and I don't really like it. I'm like, I don't know, her little one-liners. I'm like, you're trying. It was a little forced to me on her trying to be humorous.
I just hope overall they use her better. I agree. I didn't mind it as much as it sounds like as you did, but I do hope her role expands more than just the second person, you know?
Because in Mandalorian season 1, we were sold that she was like just like the top of the line assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are her bounty, you're not going to survive. And in this episode, in that first scene, we get her doing little one-liners like, you're paying for the brand, you're paying just for the name. Like she's all, I'm like, what is your role here? Like, I want
Obviously,
you
it
to,
sounds like they're setting something up where I know we'll use her more. But yeah, right now I'm just like,
yeah.
anyway.
But yeah, I thought that was a great opening scene. I liked the uh the Rancor, um, what do you call that? I guess the fake out that the
Yeah.
guy. Although I will say, for an assassin that was, I guess, willing to be beheaded, he didn't even look to see that the Rancor was coming out
I feel
before
like the
he
door was
gave up
3/4
the
of the way open.
information.
Door's
All
like at
right,
the
well,
very top of its peak. He's like, "Oh, I was hurt by the mayor." Oh, nothing's there. Well, then we go see the mayor. Pretty cool. I can't remember the name of that species.
well,
Um,
like I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Ithorians or Ilthorians or something
yeah.
like.
But I thought I enjoyed this at the beginning where they're like, I don't see you have an appointment. And they're like, oh, we're bringing this guy back to the mayor. They're not on the schedule. Anyway, I thought that was fun. A little fun scene. We talked to the mayor. Um, Mayor basically says it wasn't me who sent him. Right? Is that the right thing to like? It wasn't me. And then he said an interesting line where he said something like, "Running a family is more difficult than getting a bounty." Is that what he said? Being a bounty
Yeah,
hunter? And
yeah.
right there, I thought, oh, we're going to get Omega. His little sister is going to come. Because I was like, oh, he must know that the family member Omega's here. That was my thought for a second, but obviously I was wrong. Talking about the Hutt family, it sounds like.
Oh, I think he was talking about a crime family, like running a criminal empire, like The Godfather, like the family. Like I think the mayor is saying, Boba Fett, if you're the crime lord, like you have to manage me, you have to manage whatever her name is at the sanctuary, you have to manage all the whole family, and that takes a lot of work. You can't just be like you were when you were a bounty hunter. Basically, I feel like the mayor, just like with at last week's episode, where the mayor sent his major domo in there and basically backhanded compliments about, oh yeah, no, like the mayor does not see Boba Fett as a worthy candidate to be,
Yeah.
what do they call them? The daimyos? The
Yeah.
daimyos.
Uh-huh.
To be a daimyo of Mos Espa. I think that the mayor is basically respectfully, like he's being careful with his words, but he's also like basically saying to Boba Fett's face, you're in way over your head. Like you have no experience doing this. You have no idea what you're doing. You're not going to be able to do this.
You can't just waltz in here and think you own the place.
Right.
You got to prove it to me.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, some Hutts are coming. The twins.
Yeah. So the mayor's basically like, you need to go back over to the sanctuary and see what's going down over there. Which I thought was weird because I'm like, why is he sending him over there? But I guess it's just.
I didn't get it either. Because then she was just like, oh, the twins are here. And he's like, the twins are going to come out of, what was the name of the planet? Hutta?
Nal Hutta.
Yeah. It's like, they're not going to leave there. They've got their own battles face over there. And
Yeah.
then we have quite a scene, Sean. I think I was smiling from ear to ear for 5 minutes. I loved every part of that scene. From the very beginning where you see them, and I was like, at first I thought it was practical. I thought they were actual puppets. I'm like, there's no way they made two giant ones, but I guess it didn't look like it. When they had the close-up shots, they were obviously CG, but the guy straining under the litter, the thing was buckling in the middle. The longer they stood there, the more they were shaking, trying to hold it up. It was great. It was fantastic.
I loved it. I thought, yes, it added something to the world of like, okay, this is a little bit more of a hook for me now. I want to see the Hutts. I want to
Yes.
see the Hutts and what they're going to do to try to reclaim Jabba's empire.
What a
Like,
what a great idea.
yeah.
And here's the thing, I was thinking more about it. You know, we get the practical Jabba in Return of the Jedi. We get a little CG one, just minor, very minor in episode 1. The rest of the Hutt stuff is Clone Wars kind of CG cartoony looking thing, which had some interesting stories, but this, totally game changer, I feel like.
Like in reality, this could become the next, 5 episodes of this, depending on how much screen time these Hutts get. This could be the most extensive live action Hutt content we get. Like Return of the Jedi with Jabba obviously is okay. It's that's the standard, but I do think it would have been probably cooler to have them be practical. But I don't know. The CG kind of was nostalgic in a way too, because it almost reminded me of the prequels. I'm like, this kind of looks like the prequels.
Oh, and also episode 4, special edition. Don't forget about that.
Yes. But I loved the design of the two Hutts, the twins, and how they were like wrapped around each other.
Intertwined.
And I mean, they're just ugly suckers. And
Was he
just
using like a little? What was he using like a little mouse thing to like wipe his sweat?
I thought he was gonna eat it, but then I realized, oh no, he's dabbing his sweat with this like little furry creature. And the sister is all like fanning herself like she's so dainty. I'm like, you are the nastiest, hugest slug monster.
So funny, so great. And then I think even beyond the Hutts, the coolest part of the episode comes walking out. It's a Orokai Wookie. My goodness, that thing is scary.
The gladiator.
Holy cow!
Yes. So I watched the episode earlier this morning, and on Twitter, apparently, this is an established character. This Black Wookiee is from some of the, I guess, the Dr. Aphra comics or something.
Oh,
Um, and so very subtle. I mean, you don't have to have read the comics. I don't think that that's pivotal information for us to know. I'm sure this will establish more of his story than anything else, but I guess some people on Twitter were very excited because they gasped when they saw him, and I'm like, I had no idea that we already should know who that is.
yeah. Well, I gasped when I saw him, and I didn't even know who he was. I just thought an evil Wookiee. That's awesome.
Because really, I mean, obviously Chewbacca will always be the most recognizable famous Wookiee, but we've never really had another significant Wookiee character
Right. Yeah.
with his own character arc. So I think that's great. Again, bringing in the Hutts, bringing in a mercenary gladiator Wookiee. Like these are things that I'm like, yeah, cool. Now you've gotten me more excited about where we're going with this. Because obviously the focus should be Boba Fett, and that's great. But I need things around it to make me feel like, oh, these are things we haven't seen or experienced before. And so I thought, yeah, that whole setup was great. I a little bit thought in my head, the Hutts are pretty much defenseless in that situation. Like, what's stopping Fennec and Boba from literally just Boba just leaning over and shooting his rocket right into those Hutts and just blowing them up? So I thought that, but then the very end, did you hear Fennec was saying they are Hutts? We'll need permission if you
Yeah.
want to kill them. And I'm like, oh, what? That's interesting. What does that mean? Who do they got to get permission from?
It's little lines like that where you're like, oh, there's so much more to this. I love where they say things that in the story they know what they're talking about, but us as an audience are like, wait, what do they mean by that? They're setting something up, right?
Which I assume is just that the Hutts are such an established criminal empire and family that, like, I don't know if it's like maybe the Assassins Guild or something. Like, there are certain targets or something that unless you have permission, I don't know.
You can't take out a hut unless you want the entire Assassin's Guild on you.
Yeah.
Who knows? Here's another question for you, Sean. Are we going to see more of? What do you think they're setting up with this Wookiee, with this gladiator? I mean, is it going to be a one-on-one showdown with him and Boba? Is this going to be a? Because I think the term gladiator is an important word they used there. What's that going to be like in the future of this show?
I think that he's probably the champion of the Hutts. The Hutts aren't going to fight Boba Fett. I would be very surprised if at some point we don't have a one-on-one showdown between Boba and the Wookiee.
Does he have a name?
Yes, and I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
But the name starts with Black. It's like Black KR or something. I don't know what it is.
Black Chrysanthemum.
Black Chrysanthemum. That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was not revealed in the episode.
Right.
But people are assuming because of the design, it looks almost identical to the comic book that it is Black Chrysanthemum, even though the episode never revealed that his name is Black Chrysanthemum.
Yeah. Well, it's on Wikipedia now, so there you go. It's official. So I love the flashbacks. I'm all for the flashbacks, especially Kamino. I could have a whole episode of him on Kamino, and I'd be happy. Give me more Kamino.
So it seems like now from the first week and this week, we are getting updated, like new footage of Kamino. And so I really do hope that we go to Kamino. But then again, remember in the Bad Batch that the primary like cloning facility was destroyed.
Yeah. Tapioca City? What's it called?
Yeah, I don't know.
Something like that. But I mean, maybe he doesn't go back to Kamino. Maybe we just see an extended scene from Kamino.
Oh, from when he was a boy?
Yeah. Because they did talk about how they did use original shots from episode 2, but then they hired a stand-in kid actor to play him. And then you could tell when his reflection was in the window, you could tell it wasn't, it was the previous kid from episode 2. And it was kind of more, you could tell it was very flat, you know?
Yeah.
But hey, I'm ready for it. Give me a Kaminoan. And then maybe Omega. I mean, Omega would be there, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'm looking too much into this. Anyway, we get the flashback of him with the Tuscans. Obviously now much more ingrained with their tribe, learning how to use a gaffy stick. Any thoughts at the beginning of the flashback?
No, I agree with you. I like seeing the Kamino stuff. When we went back to the Bacta tank and started the flashback again, my immediate thought was, we're doing this again? Is this every episode that we're going to go to the Bacta tank and half the episode is present day and half is flashback? And yet this week it worked way better for me than it did last week, so I wasn't mad at it. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people kind of compare this kind of Boba with the Tuscan Raiders as like a Dances with Wolves situation. And I agree, and I like Dances with Wolves. In fact, in the last year, I've watched Dances with Wolves by myself, and my wife was like, "Why are you watching this?" I'm like, "I don't know. For some reason, I love this movie." But it's a long movie. But yeah, I liked it. I thought that for whatever reason, it just probably people are like, why did you like this week if you didn't like last week? But for some reason, this week was it just worked better for me.
This week was a cohesive story from beginning to end of flashback. Last week it was disjointed. Too many different stories were coming at us, you know.
Well, I'm talking even just specifically the Tuscan Raider part, because I think last week the Tuscan Raider stuff didn't seem like it had a purpose. Like when they were going out and seeing the swoop gang, and then going and digging up the black melons, which I didn't know that's what they were. This week we found out that they're black melons and it's milk they're drinking, not water, and all this stuff. And I just felt like it was just this random what's going on. And this week, everything, all of this time with the Tuscan Raiders just had so much purpose.
Yeah, and it led to something, right?
Yeah.
So let's start off. We have a train go zooming by. I don't want to knock on the Tuscan Raiders too much, but my goodness, put your bantha on the other side of a sand dune, please. You're losing banthas left and right here. Just hide them somewhere.
They're losing banthas and people.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, like, they're like, there's a sand dune. I mean, look at my guys right here behind me.
Uh-huh.
There's a sand dune, and they're all crouching out at the crest of the dune. Like, their knee is on the peak of the dune. I'm like, why aren't you down low? Like, there should barely be any of you visible other than just the barrel of your rifle. And instead, they're like sitting up like, we're over here. We're getting picked off. And yeah, the banthas are both times that they engage with that train, a bantha died. I'm like, geez. And then after that, I'm like, at least, yeah, hide behind the bantha at least. But
I know, right? One shot, bantha's down. Oh, we lost another one. Did you think at first that it sounded like a crate dragon was coming? Was that the sound effect from Obi-Wan in the special edition?
I don't know, but I thought it was a crate dragon.
Yeah. I was like, we got another crate dragon coming.
But then I thought it was cool to see the train that the Pikes were running spice through the Dune Sea, and obviously Boba. Then at that night, Boba's like, all of a sudden Boba is like, they all know sign language, like, and one gesture conveys a whole sentence, like,
stop train.
I'm gonna go and stop the train. Like, is that sign language for stop the train? And but I mean, so yeah, so the fact that he then went to that little watering hole that night and just wrecked shop. I mean, it must be the armor that was weighing him down in the streets of Mos Espa last week, because when he's just in his little white onesie pajamas, he went to town on those people.
Okay, did you catch anything interesting about that place? About the people there? I'm not going to claim that I know anything, but I believe those people are Luke Skywalker's friends from the deleted scenes from A New Hope.
Oh.
Have you seen those deleted scenes? I'm sure he's with Wedge.
Yeah, for at Tashi Station?
And he's with Wedge and two more of his friends. The two people they hired, and obviously then I think they look up and they see the Star Destroyer firing at the tent of E4. Anyway, the two friends, they hired people this time around that looked exactly like them. I think those are Luke Skywalker. I don't know what their names are. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. They're Luke Skywalker's friends. Maybe I'll throw in a picture.
Hey, come on, shape it up, you guys. Kids! Hey! I didn't know you were back. What you did?
Just now. Okay. I never expected you to be out working.
Well, the academy didn't change you much. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a battle going on right here in our system.
Not again. Forget it.
Well, what's all the
Can you
noise
come
about?
back down here and play the game?
I think Wormy's caught too much sun.
There they are. Let me see.
That's no battle, hotshot. They're just sitting there. Probably a freighter tanker refueling.
But there was a lot of firing earlier. Hey!
I tell you, Luke, the rebellion's a long way from here. This planet, big hunk of nothing.
I doubt if the Emperor would even fight to save the system.
Hey, you watch it.
Don't worry about it, Wormy.
I think they did a great job getting those people, and looks like they are. I don't know if that was Tashi Station where he can go get power converters. Are we close to where Luke Skywalker's homestead is? Maybe, I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, that's cool. I didn't know. I didn't catch that tie-in, but yeah, Boba ends up stealing all the swoop bikes. And I thought it was funny when he went back to the Tuscan Raiders that he tried to give it as a gift, and they just started to try to disassemble the whole
He's
thing.
like, no, these are mine. You guys obviously don't get these gifts. And then we have a fun little scene of them. Basically, we're getting ready for a train heist, an old Western train heist, right? They're riding the horses, the speeder bikes. They're jumping on the train. They're doing a little gunslinging. But overall, I felt like it was a fun scene. I was kind of worried. I mean, not really worried, but I was like, we just had a train scene like this with Han Solo. But this was a totally different. I felt like it was fun. The engine on top of the train brought a new fun element. The robot conductor was fun. I did think it kind of went on for a while because, anyway, just kind of kept going. More and more pikes came out. But anyway.
Yeah, obviously the flashback scene to me this week was a lot better than last week's, but I still think we spent at least half the episode in a flashback. Like this is a significant amount of the runtime that we're spending on this flashback. But yeah, I liked it. I feel like it was fun to watch. I liked watching I assume it's like a female Tuscan Raider, that kind of warrior one with the longer thread, ribbon stuff, fabric.
Mm-hmm.
That was like jumping into the windows and throwing people out and going through and kicking butt. That was fun. And then, yeah, I find it interesting because the Tuscan Raiders, they just allowed Boba then to just start
I think in the Obi-Wan book, which is now Legends, they set up that Tuscan Raider clans, tribes, are female-led, which seems, I don't know if the main person in this Tuscan camp is female, but definitely the strongest warrior definitely is female. So I wonder if, they're following that Legends thing. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I was surprised that the Tuscan Raiders let Boba, be like the leader negotiator with the Pikes.
Yeah, that's true.
But all of a sudden he was in charge and negotiating on behalf of the Tuscan Raiders. But that was what felt very Dances with Wolves to me, that he's helping the indigenous people.
Yep.
And
the US
you're taking advantage of, this is their land and their territory, and if you're coming through, you pay them a tribute or a toll.
Mm-hmm. What was the line about with the spice? The spice. We've seen the spice mines of Kessel and Solo. We've seen it also in. When did we see it? Was it Bad Batch? Yeah, they were spice runners, right? They didn't want to be. We're seeing a lot of spice, but why did Boba care if they were transporting spice or not? I didn't understand. Is he a good guy now? Is he not?
I've seen some criticism of that people are upset, but
And here's another question I had. When is this taking place? Has the second Death Star exploded yet? Where are we in the Empire? Because he falls in the Sarlacc pit at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. How long is he there? Maybe they'll answer this question later, but that's just kind of something that crossed my mind was.
That's a great question that I had not considered at all. I have no idea.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay, the other part I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember if this happened before the train heist or after, when he gets to make his gaffy stick.
After.
Okay, what is up with this lizard thing?
It's a Yeerk. You ever read Animorphs? It's a Yeerk.
Okay. I haven't read Animorphs, but thank you for the education.
Had you know what Animorphs is? They have a little slug that crawls in their ear and it controls them. But anyway, that's what happened. they blow a little dust in your face, the lizard hops in your nose. I thought it was funny though. I seem to have swallowed the little bugger. Sorry, like he's apologizing. Like, I just ate the thing.
That was actually really funny because he's like a gift for me, and they gave it. He's like, oh yeah, you can tell he's trying to be respectful. He's like, I will let the lizard guide me, okay? And then they blow the dust or spice in his face. The lizard goes up his nose, which is physiologically impossible. That was a huge lizard to get up his nostril.
Okay,
and
not
then
all taking anatomy.
he is so disoriented that he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I seem to have eaten the little bugger.
A little too much comedy, I feel like, from Boba Fett. Is that what people are upset about?
I don't know, but yeah, I thought that it was a interesting, weird scene, and because then we get, I feel like obviously a very abstract part of this episode where he's seeing a weird vision with this tree and the branches are wrapping around him, and it's the Sarlacc pit and all this stuff, and he breaks the branches, and I'm like, there's probably some deeper meaning to all of this, and I'm just like, okay, he needs a branch for his gaffy stick, so let's do it.
I thought the lizard would lead him, and I thought he was gonna get in Slave One. I thought he was getting in Slave One and coming back, and like this is the return of Boba Fett. Like I thought this is the end of the Tuscan Raider storyline. They sent him off. He's gonna go find a ship. But anyway, obviously it's a gaffy stick. Brings it back.
Because where is Slave One right now?
Maybe it's at Jabba's palace. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it's been. I don't know. Well, okay, let's think about this. Present day, I don't know where it is. Flashback, I don't know either. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, present day, he should have it because he had it in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Right, yes. Flashback time, I don't know where it is, but it's got to be near where Jabba was.
Yeah.
He brings back the gaffy stick. I thought he was going to be full-on Tuscan garb. I thought that was where we were headed with this, that he was going to become a Tuscan Raider. They'd wrap his face. Because I'd seen some theories that he's actually in the first episode of season 2 of Mandalorian, where they kind of showed this Tuscan Raider always kind of sitting off to the side, watching Cobb Vanth and Din Jarrett. And like, oh, that must be Boba Fett, who's kind of assimilated with this Tuscan Raider tribe. But it sounds like, it doesn't look like that's the case. It just looks like he's just kind of wearing his black, which we later see, you know, he puts his armor over, right? And he still kind of has the black of this Tuscan clan.
Huh. Yeah. So he comes back, he makes the gaffy stick that obviously we see him use last season of The Mandalorian. And so I'm getting the timeline mixed up again. So after that gaffy stick, it's just he just gets the garb, you're right. And then it's mostly just a ceremony kind of
ceremony by the fire.
Yeah.
They do a little dance. But yeah, that's episode 2. Like we said, fantastic course correction. Would it have been different if the Hutt stuff was at the end of the episode and the flashback was at the beginning? I don't know. How much longer are we going to get these flashbacks? I feel like his time with the Tuscans has got to come to a close soon. I mean, I think they're setting up. Obviously, I think what they're setting up is some big fight with the Hutts and Black. I already forgot his name. And the Tuscans are going to come to his aid. I feel like that's what we're setting it up for in present day. But
I agree.
How much more flashbacks are we getting? But what's going to happen with the Hutts? What's going to happen with the Pikes? Are we going to see them again? All questions, and I'm excited to see in episode 3.
I am curious what it would have been like if they would have done all the flashback stuff in like episode 1 and then all the present day stuff, or you know what I mean, or all the present day stuff from the first 2 episodes in episode 1. Give us the Hutts and the Black Wookie in the first episode, and then just dedicate episode 2 to the flashback maybe.
Yeah, because usually, like when they do flashbacks, the flashbacks will answer questions of what's happening in the present day. So, like you'll see, or at least some TV shows, they'll show something and then you'll flashback and be like, "Oh, here's the backstory of that." But it seems like this flashback is not related to what's happening present day wise.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, overall, I thought it was a very good episode. Obviously, I thought it was a huge improvement from week 1. I will say, I told you at the beginning of our little chat here that I still had some minor concerns.
Oh, what are
they're like I said, I've already said, I like this episode a whole lot. Not a lot to complain about. I still feel like, even with the Hutts and with the Gladiator Wookiee, I'm like, that's more of a hook, but still have we gotten a hook of this is what we're trying to do or accomplish in this series? I guess it's just to defeat the Hutts now.
I think that's it. I think we now have the conflict. Conflict is the Hutts want the Jabba's territory. What's going to happen? They ended that conversation way too easily for it to be,
Right. And then the only other question I had too, which I don't know where I sit yet in terms of my answer for this question, but is the Book of Boba Fett, when all is said and done, we don't know because it isn't, we still have 5 more episodes, but is it too similar to The Mandalorian? It obviously in the first 2 episodes I feel like feels like it's basically The Mandalorian still, in terms of the vibe and the feeling. Obviously Boba Fett and Mando are 2 different characters. I'm not saying that I'm not confused that way. But I'm like, I went back in my head again to, like we talked about last week, Marvel. They came out with 4 TV shows in 2021, and all of them were way different from each other. They all had their own characteristic, their own vibe, their own brand, and they all were fantastic. And Book of Boba Fett now is the 2nd live-action Star Wars show that Star Wars has put out on Disney Plus, and it's like, this is just the same thing as The Mandalorian.
It's Tatooine with the same people. We'll get it again in Obi-Wan. We'll get it there. Maybe not. Maybe Cassian Andor will not be on Tatooine or a sandy planet.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be on the Rings of Karfif or whatever that place was and stay there. Because, yeah, it's a lot of sand people all of a sudden.
Yeah. But, I mean, not something to lose sleep over. I feel like my enthusiasm and excitement for the show definitely has been increased and renewed. Excited to see what happens in season 3. I want to spend more and more time now in present day.
Yes.
I think we can wind down on the flashbacks here.
Unless we're going to Kamino.
Unless we're getting off of Tatooine. No more flashbacks.
Well, that's it. Let us know what you thought below. Let us know what you thought if there is going to be a Rancor coming up. And let us know what your favorite part of the episode was. And Sean, just like always, this is the way.
And we have spoken, and we'll see you next time on The Dads of Dagobah.
Dagobah. Bye.
Bye.